I'm with started Frontline America, and I'm the field correspondent for America's Voice News.
So your face probably very familiar with a lot of the fellow fighters in the new federal state of China. So tell us a little bit more about what you know about the evil deeds that CCP has committed in the United States.
Well, they're a godless communist regime that uses torture and murder to control and keep their power. I mean, you look at what over the last 100 years, more people have died in China under the Communist Party than any other country in the world, and so there's nothing good to say about it. I mean, sure, you get cheap products made. You got companies like Apple over there making billions of dollars on cheap labor, while the people of the country are suffering. And the reality is, people don't realize this. Mexico is controlled by the cartels. They control almost every politician down there. If you stand up, if you speak out against them, they'll murder you. But the CCP is also involved in that. And they provided the precursors for fentanyl to Mexico, and then Mexico ran fentanyl across America. We have more young people, 18 to 45, dying of fentanyl deaths because of the cartels in China, the CCP, than anywhere else, than any other time in history. I mean, the people in China that want to have freedom, COVID has opened the eyes of the world if they're willing to see. I was in California at the time. We were complaining about the lockdowns in California, but then you look at what happens in China, and take it for granted what freedom is in America. And sadly, if we don't stand up now and we don't stop what's happening, America will fall. And if America falls, there's nowhere else to go. The world falls.
I completely agree with you 100%. What you just said about the cartel, it's exactly what the CCP does to its own people. If any of us, the Chinese descendants here you see at this booth, if we speak against the Chinese Communist Party, or if we travel back, we will be disappeared. We will be killed. Our family will be threatened. So I want to share with you one disturbing fact, because right now in America, there's a lot of American people, American citizens. Okay, they enjoyed the way of life of America. They're living in every benefit coming from a free and open society, but they're acting as a foreign agent and doing the biddings for the CCP. So what do you think about that?
They should be prosecuted for treason. I mean, anybody who is supporting a foreign government, and in particular a government that's hostile to America, there is no greater threat to America than the CCP. They're all working together to undermine the West, not just America, but Europe as well, all of the Western world, because they want that ultimate control. And they know, and that's why we're seeing a shift away from the dollar. Eventually, I mean, if we lose the dollar as the global currency, it's a disaster for the world. But anybody in America, especially somebody who's sworn an oath, somebody who's in military office or in public office that has sworn an oath to uphold, defend the Constitution, they are actively working with a government like China. They should be prosecuted as treason. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is. But even beyond that, you have media companies, you have organizations. Again, we mentioned Apple. All of these organizations that are taking advantage of communism to create either cheap products or push propaganda and lies, they should be held accountable as well.
What do we need to do more to let the world know that the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is illegitimate government for China? How do we push that information, and how do we push more about new federal state of China?
Well, that's why our network, Real America's Voice News, I do it. My network's called Frontline America. Why we exist is to get the truth out there in a world of propaganda and lies, fake news media. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, all of these organizations are sold out, and they have to be called out. And that's why we're here. We exist. And so I'd say the biggest thing is to promote, to send the information from organizations like ours, organizations like yours, the truth out to the people. The biggest thing for people out there is to influence the people that you have influence over. If there are people that that I don't know. There are people that you connect with that I can't connect with, but you can. And so the first thing is influence that sphere around you, and then ask the Lord where to go from there. I mean, we each have a calling in this. You were born with a purpose, and sometimes it's as easy as that first step. I mean, you take that the first one's always the hardest. It's always the scariest. And I always say this, the most important things you will ever do in your life are the things that scare you. And if it scares you, then you're probably supposed to be doing it. And I would say, step into that. You don't have to know the end. You don't have to know what that final picture looks like, but be willing to take that first step. and the rest, it becomes easier and easier, and the doors will open and see where to go next. As Steve Bannon, I'm honored to work with him. Signal, not noise. Action.
Exactly.
Action. We each have a part to play.
Exactly. So last question. We only have a little bit of time to go. So how do we hold those mainstream media accountable for what they've done, for what they have been silenced the truth in the society?
The best thing is to call them out. When you see them out in the street, call them out. Go up to them and call them out for the fake news that they are. Go out and show. All you have to do is look at our reporting and then go look at CNN or MSNBC's reporting and compare it. It's right in front of you. But these guys, they have lived in their bubble for so long. If you're in Atlanta, that's where CNN's headquarters is. If you're there, go out there and protest in front of their buildings. Go out there and confront them and call them out for their lies. They're so comfortable. They live in their ivory towers. They go home behind their protected walls. They say defund the police, but then they're the first one to call the police when they're scared for themselves. They have to be called out for the frauds that they are. And each one of us have a part to play, whether that's sharing and exposing their fraudulent content or directly, protesting against them. That's why, as long as we have the First Amendment, we got to use it.
Yeah. And for those agents, for those American citizens who are acting on behalf of the CCP, do you think that do you think the American government should investigate on them and root them out and identify who they are?
Absolutely. We have to investigate these organizations and individuals that are aiding and abetting enemies of this nation.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful. My pleasure interviewing you. Thank you. You take care.